Hello and welcome to the first episode of the unnamed podcast that I don't yet have a name for. If you think of anything, let me know. However you choose to let me know, in the comments or, of course, directly if you know me personally. So, if you're listening to this, you probably know who I am. I'm Jake Kuiper. I'm first in class as of now in my high school class. I have a very good GPA, and I think myself a credible person that you might want to listen to. I also think myself an interesting person you might want to listen to. So, um, I also think myself a person who has a lot of interesting things to say. Okay, outside of this is how you get, this is how you succeed in life. I got some funny stories. That's I also say a lot. Apparently finding that out just talking. So I guess I'm ironing some things out. This is episode 1, so I do have some talking points that I have. Just basic things, but I'm gonna expand on them quite a lot. I've already said who I am. I want to in this. I really want to talk about. I want to talk about. I want to be interested. I want give you something to listen to. For maybe half an hour, or however long this ends up being. I don't have very many things to talk about since this is episode 1, obviously, but I think you'll definitely be very interested. Sorry. I think you'll be very interested in what I have to say and what I think about things. So, what's to expect from this sort of podcast? Is probably. I don't really have a schedule for episodes, but I definitely like to do somewhere in the ballpark range of 2 episodes, or at least 2 episodes a month. Maybe more if this is successful, to a high degree, because obviously, first and foremost, I want to connect with the audience, because there's a lot of people who I consider friends and I consider pals. And it just, the thing is, so many people don't know very much about me. I'm not a very personal person. Sometimes I am to some people, but for the most part, most people listening to this probably don't know anything about me besides my name. I'm smart, But we can change that. If you care to listen. If you listen to the next couple episodes. So. Of course, as of right now, this is a solo act because I'm doing this kind of not really on the fly. I've thought about it for a little bit, but I'm doing this completely alone at in the middle of the night. It's currently 3:10, not PM when I'm recording this, and I'm doing this because I'm not gonna have the motivation to do this when I wake up. A lot of times you get the motivation to do something and you just gotta act on it, I believe that when you have motivation for something, acting on it is incredibly important because obviously there's a lot of things that are out of your hand in life. It's mostly out of your hand, in fact. The way how you're born into something, it's all luck. Okay? That's not to say that you can't do, that there's nothing you can do. You can do a lot to push yourself forward in life. Okay? Ultimately, if you're, not to say destined for failure, because destiny isn't really a real thing, but destined, sure, we'll call it destined to fail. Just simply because of the life that you've been born into. You're born poor, and your parents, they pull you out of school or however it is. You're never really. It's incredibly difficult to recover from that. Of course, you can get a GED and perhaps go to community college, but no real college would really accept a GED. Like, I mean, if you have an extensive resume of service, then the college could be interested in you. But for the most part, community college, of course, after getting a GED. But even then, you're still incredibly limited in the fields you can go into. A lot of it is out of your hands. Okay, I'm gonna save a lot of these talking points for about stuff being out of your hands for future episodes. I already have a couple ideas for another future episode, but so we're gonna save that. We're gonna put that in a bottle, and we're gonna put the cork in the bottle, and we're gonna drop it in the ocean, and then hopefully I'll fish it up later and open cork it and be disappointed when I realize it's not a message in the bottle. It's just some ideas for a podcast. So, I mean, yes. What I was mainly saying is act on your motivations, act on your inspirations, because there may come a time when you're unable to do what you want to do. There will come a time when you're unable to pursue your creative endeavors. So pursue them while you have the chance. Maybe you'll find success from it. Maybe you'll just have a little bit of fun along the way. But there's a good chance you won't regret it. There's a good chance that you'll be more likely to regret not doing it and not pursuing these motivations later in life than you are to regret pursuing them. Now, of course, I have some goals for this podcast, and maybe they're lofty for episode 1, but I think that they're doable. First of all, I want to make more episodes of this. I've thought about this for a good minute, and it'd be very fun. But of course, I'm in school, so it could be difficult. It could be difficult with an extensive schedule and extracurriculars. For those who don't know, I'm in band, and that takes up a lot of time. So, maybe there'll come a time when I'm unable to do this. So I'm going to do this while I can. Okay, but my main goals. I mean, I just want to I just want to reach out to people. I want to be someone who listens to this, and I mean, it's cheesy as it is to say, is moved by it, is inspired by it, perhaps, because I don't want to, pat myself on the back too much, okay, or showboat. I don't want to do that too much on this, because I do that too much in person. If you know me, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But, there's been people who've said that I'm actually inspiring to them, and that touches my heart. I don't know if the person who said that will be, or if the people who've said that will be listening to this, will even know about this. But if they do, I just want you to know you're very appreciated, and it inspired me that I've inspired you, and inspired all of you, inspired everyone who's ever told me that, which is, I think I can count on one hand the amount of people who told me that, but there's more than one. So, I can't remember if I said this at the beginning, but this doesn't have a name. This podcast does not have a name. If y'all have any ideas for names, leave them down in the comments below, because this is gonna be uploaded to YouTube. Maybe I'll put it up on Spotify or Apple Music. I don't have an Apple device, so I don't know if I can even put it onto Apple Music. That would be, but I mean, of course, more streaming services the better. I'll put it on SoundCloud. No, I kid. I'm joking. So, something that I would very much like to do is get ideas from the listeners, so to speak. And when I say that, I don't mean I'll take your suggestions. If you have ideas, I'll take them. I'll love them. But I'm gonna try to do every time I do this, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to give you the question of the bi-monthly question or whatever, And I think this episode's question is going to be, what is your favorite flavor of Haribo gummy bear? Just the traditional ones, Hopefully you know them. And why? I want to know what makes it your favorite. Do you have an emotional connection to it because you ate it a lot when you were young? Do you like its unique flavor profile? Of course, if you don't I'm not asking for a good reason. If you say that you like the color, I'll take that. It'll be interesting. But I definitely want to, in the next episode, talk about the feedback I get. I want to see these answers, and I want to talk about them, and we'll discuss them. I think that'll be very interesting to discuss the answers to the question that I pose. And I think that's definitely be something not unique at all. There's tons of other podcasts that do something similar, but I think it would definitely be more interesting. Add you, the listener, into the equation more than just pressing a play button and probably a pause button after listening to my voice for 10 minutes and saying, "Wow, this guy's annoying." Now, as I record this, I find myself frequently pausing, just for a minute, or just a couple seconds, really, to catch my breath, so to speak, and gather my thoughts, because what I find when I talk for a while is that I end up going on tangents that aren't very interesting, and I want this to stay interesting. Okay, so as we are, moving along, I guess the goal for the next episode to be released, because I'll start work on it sometime, but the goal for the next episode to be released is, I don't want to go too lofty. Obviously, triple digits is insane, but 10 likes. 10 likes on the YouTube upload of this podcast, and then we will release episode 2. Or if y'all are quick enough, I'll get it out as fast as I can. No promises on it, but if it's ready and we get to 10 likes, I'll release episode 2. If it's ready and we never hit 10 likes, we can kiss this goodbye. So, now, earlier today, I asked a simple question, and I posed it publicly. I said, I posed it to a large amount of people, and I said, should I start a podcast? Okay, now, I didn't really get any real feedback on that. Okay, 2 people, they agreed with it. 2 people liked the idea. Okay, now, I consider them to be dear friends, so I very much appreciate them, and I bet they'll be listening to this, and to you 2 that did like this and like this idea, thank you. It seriously means a lot, and you 2 are great friends to me, so thank you. Now to the people who are watching this and didn't give any kind of response to that question that I posed, or listening. I don't know why I say watching. Listening. This is purely audio. So the people that are listening to this and didn't give any response to the question when I posed it, I still appreciate you for listening. Okay, every minute you listen to this, is another minute I'll sleep happily at night. And I do appreciate it if you like this, so we can get that second episode out. 10 likes. It's not a lot. I don't think it's a lot. Certainly we could hit 5, so I set it to 10. Let's push ourselves, right? Now, so one of the places I got the inspiration for this from is last year in English class, right? We had to do a final project. Okay, now obviously in every English class in the country, you probably had to do some kind of final project. That's normal, but it was a very it was a project that would require work, 100%. Okay, so initially, since at that time I was doing a lot with card tricks, those who spoke to me at that time, you probably remember that, and they were pretty cool. I'm probably never going to bring those back, but I do fondly hold those times in my heart. um, and I initially was going to do some kind of card trick video and tie it into English class or something, and then I was like, wait, this idea is totally stupid. So I picked something easy, and I did the final it was a podcast as the final project. It was 18 minutes. I still have it. Maybe once we get to, like, if we can make it to, like, if we make, like, way farther, like, I'm talking months down the road, and, like, at least 20 more episodes under my belt, then maybe I'll release that. But for now, it's going to stay in the archives. I still have it, and I think it's an okay listen, and I think it would be very interesting if you end up enjoying this a lot, and you want to see how I developed it, because that was from 4 months ago, and I've grown a lot as a person in those past well, no, it's January, and I did that in May, so it's actually 7 months ago. So I've grown a lot in the past 7 months, thanks to a lot of people, helping me grow as a person, and also, just my general self growing. We all grow and we change, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about life, is that we grow and we change, and it's a firm belief I hold, is that all of us, every single one of us, every day, if we push to be just a little bit better every single day, then the world will be a better place every single day. Because the world is who we, all 10 billion of us, it's all of us. It's every single one of us has some effect. Okay, whether it's you throwing a chocolate bar wrapper on the ground, or it's you using those putting in an AI prompt and burning away gallons of water, poisoning it, however we all impact the world. We all leave our mark, even hundreds of years down the road, we'll be buried in the ground, and our we'll be worm feast, and sorry if that's dark. It's just a fact of life, though, that eventually we'll be returned to the earth, and we'll provide nutrients for the plants, and you know sorry that maybe if that came off weird, but it's a fact. Eventually everyone decomposes, and and like every animal, everything that's ever lived, return all of our nutrients, we return back to the earth, and then the food chain, food circle of life, Lion King. Yeah. But food, it's just like the food chain. You learn about that in third grade. It's just a fact of life. Just that's how it happens, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. We we as humans, we we all have, no one's gonna live forever, and I mean, who knows? Technology's come a long way in the past. It's coming a long way, so maybe we'll be able to live forever. That would be pretty cool, but at the same time, it'd get pretty boring after a while. People lived 100 something, and they're ready to go. They're so exhausted at that point. But if immortality was a thing, I'm sure it'd be a mixed bag on how people feel about it. I think it's very interesting. That's a very interesting thing to think about. So, as I record this, we've got about 1 day left of winter break, which is, it's basic. Winter break's basically over. At least for my school district, it starts back up on the Tuesday. I don't know why I didn't start on Monday, but it starts on Tuesday, and that's their choice, I guess. Um, and it's gonna be time for the work to start back up again. And sorry, I just yawned. I'm gonna try to keep my coughs, my yawns, all of that to a minimum because you're not here to hear me yawning and sneezing and coughing and sighing. You're here to hear me talk because you want to hear something interesting. You don't want to hear me blabber on about something boring. Okay, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who've tuned out by now because they got bored, and I guess that's because I didn't really have very many talking points wrote down for this episode. I just said, who am I? What do I want to talk about? What to expect from this? And my goals, And I guess a reasonable... I should be more specific with the goals, right? Is, I I'm not in the... I don't want to... I'm not doing this because I want to make some kind of money off of it, but I think that if I were to, that would be awesome, but that's so far away. So far away. You need, what's it, like, 10,000 hours of watch time and 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think those are the numbers. 10,000 hours of watch time over the past 3 months, and I think it's also 3,000 subscribers in the past 3 months. I'm not too sure on this number. It's been a while since I've looked at them. Now, the reason I know those, and so here's something interesting. The reason I know those is because about a year ago, I want to say, maybe more, maybe less, I did like 3 YouTube shorts, and I edited them with CapCut, and they were lame. They were horrible. Okay, I think I still have them privated. So I mean, eventually, someday down the road, I'll let them into the world. I don't know if we can make it to episode 100, they'll be released. That's my promise to each and every single one of you listening. I bet I can count on one hand how many of you are still listening at this point. You're either asleep because of how boring I am, or you clicked off. So, I think I'd rather you be sleeping, because at least at that point you're still watching or listening. I keep saying watch. It's so weird. I mean, most of the podcasts that I've listened to, which is like 2 or 3, they normally have a video, but if I did a video and it was half an hour, my phone would probably explode. I don't think my phone could handle half an hour of video all at once. Especially not uploading. It would take like a year to upload. But, with just sound, I think YouTube has an integrated way to upload just sound. If not, this is going to be a pain, because I'm going to have to translate file types, and you're not here to hear about that. You want to hear about something interesting. I got you something interesting. Ready for this? Okay, so here's something interesting, alright? So, now, many people I know play video games, okay? Some people I know don't play video games, okay? And they're anomalies, But, I in fact do play video games quite a lot, actually, And, personally, I prefer... That was my mouth that did that noise. I don't know if that got picked up. It was like a raspberry, almost. But, but so many people, they have such... And this, I guess, applies to movies and TV shows. They say, if it doesn't fit within these strict confines, I'm not interested. Like, there's some people who... you'll try to recommend them a video game or something, and they'll say it's not they'll say that it's not a first-person shooter, and that they're not interested, even though that it's still a great game, and it's probably still action. It's still action-oriented. I don't know why you wouldn't be interested. It's not a first-person shooter, but it's still pretty cool. There's a lot of games that are like that. They're action-oriented, or action-orientated. I don't know how to say orientated, apparently. I keep saying oriented. I don't know why I keep saying that. Probably because it's 3:30 in the morning. And I think it's unfair to judge something like that by its cover, whether it be a movie for not being the specific genre that you prefer, or you judge a TV show for being too long, or having a weird formula, like why is the season only like 5 episodes long, and probably gonna be 5 really good episodes, but I think judging a book by its cover is one of the headstones, or one of the flagships of the decline in media literacy we've seen over the past couple of years. So many people just fall for straight up false fake news. As much as I hate that term, fake news. That's not a term that I like to use a lot, but news that is fake news. It's so easy to fall for that kind of thing nowadays, just because, I mean, most people, they want to fall for it, they want to believe it's true, because it benefits them if it is true. And I think really we should all practice greater media literacy. We should all look for holes in stories and see if this even makes sense, is this even logical? Whenever you're reading something that's meant to be factual, is this logical? That's a way to determine if it's true. But I guess, but getting back to judging a book by its cover, that's another thing about media literacy, is that you can't partake in the media if you have an aversion from it just simply due to its title, or due to one of its surface characteristics, when really you could read it, or listen to it, or watch it, or play it, and you end up enjoying it deeply because it's good. There's not very many better words for it, but it's a good piece of media. And I think we should be more open to giving things tries. Now, the goal that I did want to hit for this first episode is around half an hour or more. I want all these episodes to fall somewhere between half an hour and an hour. And maybe once we get to when I have more things to talk about besides just who am I and what is this, because this is the first episode. We're still ironing the flaws out. I think I've had to stop and collect my thoughts, pause about no less than 30 times. I'm starting to trip over my own words because it's late and I'm getting tired, so I think I'm going to start trying to bring this to a close, okay? If there's anything you want to ask about or talk about in the comment section, great, please do. Of course, answer that question that I posed. What's the best flavor of Haribo Gold Bear, and why? What makes you think it's the best? And of course, let's get that 10 likes so we can get that second episode dropped as soon as possible. Second episode, we're not gonna dilly-dally. We're gonna get right into business. We're gonna keep it interesting. We're gonna have some interesting stories, some good advice. It's gonna be a load of fun. This first episode was not as fun as I would have liked it to be, because it was we're ironing out all of the flaws, the kinks. We still are working on it. We'll probably still be working in episode 2, but it'll be a lot better than this one, hopefully. So, whenever you're listening to this, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Truman. Great movie, Truman Show. If you've never seen it, it's a good one. Make sure to watch it. Yeah, you just got assigned homework by a podcast. Watch The Truman Show. I'm messing around. Anyways, yep, that's about it. 10 likes on the YouTube upload. Leave your answers to the questions that I gave in the comments, and, I hope you all enjoyed. And if this is the only episode I do of this, because we only end up with like 3 likes, I'm happy that I did this. And if not, I'm happy that I'll get to see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.